Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. All right, first question. Hey coach, first off, thanks for answering my question a few months back regarding deficit deadlifts. I'm now up to a 615 conventional. Wow. My question is, should I start sumo deadlifting? I already rotate through these with deficits of different heights and bands. Thanks, coach. Man, sounds like rotating through the different deficits has really paid off for you, brother. 615 conventional, that is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So first off, I just want to say that's awesome. Congrats on that. You should be proud of yourself. You've done really, really well. Really well. So that being said, should you mess with sumo? I don't think it's a bad idea. As you notice, like right now, every week I do deficit deadlifts, I do sumo deadlift, all of these things. And I think it's valuable to train these slightly different movement patterns. And there are some coaches out there, I mean, including Matt Winning. And Matt Winning is a championship winning power lifter who has an advanced degree in exercise science and as a coach. He personally feels a sumo is slightly easier to recover from than conventional. That's his anecdote. It's worth noting. So I think what you find, though, with just rotating through some of these different variations is the fact that we can train slightly different areas in terms of overuse. And I think especially with big movements like the conventional deadlift that can be hard to recover from, doing these different variations, rotating through them to make sure your strength curves are good, you don't have different muscle weaknesses, and that we work these different joints and tendons and everything from slightly different angles to help with overuse injuries, because we're moving big heavy weights on a deadlift very quickly. We are, and I think these different variations can help with, more than anything, I think, injury mitigation and just getting too stale on kind of a movement pattern. So to answer your question, could you benefit from it? Possibly. I don't think it's bad to rotate it in. I don't think it's bad to train both the conventional and the sumo once you have built a base. I always tell a lot of the novices, you need to probably do conventional. I'm not going to freak out if they do sumo. I'm not as dogmatic about it as I've gotten a little older. But I would like them to just stick with one variation and build a base. But I think at a certain point for more advanced lifters, rotating through the variations, different deficit heights, working in sumo, things like that, I think it might benefit you. See if you can get to 650 doing that. It's worth a try. I think you can definitely work in the sumo also as one of your variations. Absolutely. All right, next question. Hey coach, would it be a good idea to use a rowing machine at the end of a full body workout for cardio? Good idea. You know what? That's a very subjective question. And here's what I'm going to say. Are we trying to optimize and maximize training response? So are we looking for what's optimal? And I put that in italics, even though you can't see my face, because optimal can be a bit of a buzzword. It can be a marketing ploy. But are we looking for optimal, or are you just trying to get into shape? Because here's the problem we run into. If you're a serious athlete, a very serious athlete who's very serious about their strength or muscle goals, but you also want some conditioning, you need to space them out. Not immediately at the end. No, it needs to be afterwards, quite a bit afterwards, hours afterwards. In fact, I did a video on that the other day. That's for someone in pursuit of optimal. Now, are you the average Joe who just wants to gain some muscle and strength and get into shape, and you need the extra conditioning work, but you're not concerned with optimal? Or are you worried that you might lose 3% or 5% of your stimulated gains as a result of the crossover effect, right, of it negating some of your training response? Or you just have limited time, and you know that the only way you're going to get your cardio in that you need just to be healthy, just to be fit, just to be in shape, because you're an average Joe who just wants to be fitter and healthier, then that's probably what you need to do. If that's what your lifestyle allows for, and you know that you're not going to separate it out into 2 separate sessions in the day because your lifestyle doesn't allow for it, maybe you're not a super serious athlete, but you do want to be generally jacked and strong and fit and healthy, it might be warranted. Just understand that there can be an interference effect from it. It can slightly reduce your gains from your lifting to do cardio immediately after without several hours break in between. Just be aware of that. But again, if you're just a recreational lifter who just wants to be in shape, it might be a good idea. If that's the only way that you can get your conditioning work in, then that's what you have to do. And that's the way that you need to look at it. So the question becomes, is it necessary based upon your lifestyle? Or are you seeking to be optimal as a serious athlete? So that really is going to determine the answer to your question. And I'm going to say the majority of you out there are just average Joes who just might want to be a little bit better than the other people in the gym, right? You just want to be a little stronger, a little fitter, in which case it's probably fine to mix it that way. So, again, it's going to be depending upon your lifestyle and your goals. It just isn't quote unquote optimal. And I don't personally do it. All right, next question. Hey Jason, how would you fix a shoulder flexibility imbalance on the squat? If I try to put both my pinkies on the first ring, then the bar tends to lean more on my left side and the bar doesn't rest evenly on my back. If you have a flexibility issue, quit trying to low bar squat. Stick it up on your traps. And I don't mean at the very tip top of your traps. I mean on your traps, like watch what I squat. When you see me squat, I'm a high bar squatter. Just go ahead and high bar squat. Look, if you can't get it balanced perfectly on your back for low bar and you have one side leaning more than the other, just either you need to sort out and learn to get tighter and pull your back end tighter and pull your shoulder blades together more, or build a better shelf up there, maybe more trap work, more face pull, stuff like that to build a better shelf to rest the bar on. Or you should probably just go ahead and go high bar because you don't want it unevenly loaded. And that's one of the problems you can run into if you've got some shoulder mobility issues or flexibility issues or certain injuries and things. You're just not going to be able to low bar squat. And if you can't, it's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. There are guys out there who high bar squat 700 and 800 pounds. Don't worry about it. Go ahead and high bar squat and get it evened out. You'll be fine if you can't sort it out by getting tighter or if just fixing your mobility issues with a little bit of mobility work. Not the end of the world. I'm perfectly fine high bar squatting, right? No problem with it. Plenty of guys compete even in powerlifting successfully with high bar squats. All right, next question. Hey Jason, when programming the close grip bench press and the weighted dip, do you prefer most intermediate lifters pick one and progress on it or program both exercises into their program at the same time? Thanks. I could go either way here. Now, novice lifters, I would say you don't need to program two similar movements like that. Not at all. You don't need to run them together. Pick one. And I'm going to lean towards the close grip bench press for novices for a lot of reasons. As a more intermediate lifter, I honestly think you can train both concurrently. However, I'm going to add in the caveat that if you choose to do both concurrently, one of them needs to be a primary exercise. In other words, you do it as a primary lift, you hit your bigger numbers on it, and the other is going to be an accessory movement or an assistance movement. Going to lend itself towards being an assistance movement. All right? Or really, in this case, an accessory to the other because they're not quite the same bar path. So that's how you're going to need to program it as auxiliary work. So you're going to need to pick one still to be the primary and then do the other as more of a volume exercise to get more training volume in, right? Or you have the option also as an intermediate to do them in phases. Now you can do them in phases. I have no problem with that either. But if you're going to do some sort of block periodization, you see the problem, you're going to have to run all the blocks in a row with the same lift and then do the other as an accessory. But if you're going to run some sort of concurrent training or you're going to just do a slow linear progression type system, it's perfectly fine to go ahead and swap them back and forth in different blocks. Maybe when you stall on one, you can go the other for 3 or 4 weeks and then go back to it. You have a lot of options. You have a lot of options as an intermediate. But you got to remember, intermediates are also at a point to where they do actually start benefiting more from accessory movements. So I would tend to lean in the direction of someone who wanted to start working in dips who's an intermediate, keep training your close grip bench press, and add the weighted dip as an accessory movement. That's the direction I would generally go, but I would say there's no wrong way to do it out of those options I gave. There's no wrong way to do it. That's just the way I would generally recommend it. Doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's just personal preference. All right, next question and last question of the week. I must substitute squats with box squats due to a knee issue. It's a recommendation by my orthopedic surgeon. What might I be missing out on by not doing conventional squats, and what exercises can supplement this? A little bit of quad development. That's all you really lose. The box squat is perfectly acceptable for general size and strength building, right? Perfectly acceptable. A normal high bar squat, you're probably going to have a little more potential for more quad development. That's it. But here's the problem you run into. Anything that's going to be more quad dominant is going to put a little more shear stress on the knee. So I don't know that you can correct that not off the top of my head, I can't really think of a way that you can fix that particular issue with it. What I will say, though, is that your orthopedic surgeon does sound like he knows what he's talking about. And what I mean is the box squat puts the least shear stress on the knee. And we're talking a correctly done to depth box squat. Puts the least shear on the knee. And for someone who's probably had knee surgery, you've had an orthopedic surgeon go in and perform surgery on it. What I would say under normal circumstances, a normal squat is not enough knee shear to really give people knee issues who know how to squat correctly, particularly if they have strong hamstrings. Not an issue. However, someone who's gone through surgery, that extra knee shear that you reduce by going to the box squat very well might save someone who's been damaged and needed surgery, because you're no longer really a fully healthy individual in regard to that. So here's what I would say. Don't worry about it. You're not trying to be a pro bodybuilder where you need perfect quads or anything, are you? You just want to get strong and big and fit and get the benefits of actually squatting in terms of the full body development and the strength. Do the box squats then. Go with your orthopedic surgeon's recommendations, do the box squats and program them as you would normally with your back squats. Perfectly acceptable. And it sounds like good advice for someone who's had knee surgery. So I think your surgeon's actually steering you in the right direction personally. At least he has you squatting, so that's good. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.